Hello everyone, this is the Final Bosman on the road, and on today's episode, I'm as good as any movie. You hear me? I deserve an Oscar. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Santa Monica, Santa Monica, California. We're still here. Actually, today we are in the office that was once occupied by both Jeff Keighley and Buttons the Alley Cat. So not bad, I think. On today's episode, I'm Kyle Bosman, by the way. That's who I am. And I'm feeling, as usual, I'm feeling conflicted because I really like The Last of Us. And I think it kind of sucks to like love that thing that everyone else loves, but in this case I do. We all love The Last of Us, apparently. However, I'm feeling some strange things about The Last of Us lately. Weird feelings. And I guess it all comes from this root of us all wanting video games to be better, right? We all want them to be more mature, and we want them to grow up. Take, for instance, this Tekken 7 trailer that was released last weekend.
Heihachi is more powerful than you realize. Who knows what Heihachi will do to Kazuya?
So that's bad. That's like legitimately bad voiceover. And I don't think it's all on the artist. I think that like there was a director there who could have just said, "Hey, Janet, don't do that." But that person didn't. That person allowed this to happen. And it's read like each line is on a new page. It's horrible. And I think that like we shouldn't accept that anymore. I think we should just say, this isn't done yet. Please take this back. Please like don't give this to us. And that comes from a place not of like snobbery. That comes from a place of caring. We all want video games to be better. I want Tekken 7 to be as great as Tekken 7 wants to be. So Tekken 7, don't do that with your voiceover. We don't want that anymore.
I love Heihachi. And he loves me.
And back to The Last of Us. This is a game that clearly doesn't have voiceover issues, right? I think that like we've grown accustomed to like anytime Troy Baker's announced in a game, we're like, oh, come on, again? But also, he's just like, he is an incredible actor. He's a good performer, and he cares about what he makes. And so at the same time, I don't have a problem with it. He should play Heihachi's wife. Go ahead, he'll do great. You know he will.
I love Heihachi.
You know, and he's great. Whatever. Last of Us is great. Won the majority of the Game of the Year awards last year. You know, it's prestigious. It's a prestigious game. It's one of those games that's mature and that we can be proud of. Oh, here it is, everyone. Games have matured. And so this week, we're seeing The Last of Us Remastered. This is a version of The Last of Us, the game that was released last year, that is graphically improved and has improved performance and director's commentary. And so this sort of leads to my first problem, is that there's a lot of these happening right now, these sort of 8th gen re-releases. You know, throughout our last generation, we saw a lot of HD remakes, right? And those made sense. You know, games were SD and now they're HD, and here it is. You can get this in HD on your HD TV. Now we have HD to higher def. We're going from high def to higher def, and that's clearly less significant. Just on paper, that's less significant. And I don't know. I mean, they work. People still want them clearly, so I don't think they're stupid. The problem is that nobody knows what to call them. What do you call this HDer remake? Injustice, they call themselves the Ultimate Edition. Tomb Raider called itself the Definitive Edition. Grand Theft Auto 5 is just calling itself Grand Theft Auto 5, and I actually really like that. I think that's the classiest decision you can make. Oh, here it is, PS4, Grand Theft Auto 5. What? You don't need anything more than that. And here we have The Last of Us calling itself Remastered, which is a word not a lot of video games use. DuckTales Remastered called itself Remastered, but like, who do you, you're not remastered, what are you? You're a weird remake. You added voices, that's not a remaster. And in truth, like, what video game is? Remastered, I think, is a good marketing word. I think that it will definitely make people who are buying this game feel better about themselves for buying this game. But that's a stolen word. Remastered makes sense with music and you know, movies, and not so much with video games. And so it's like it kind of seems like The Last of Us was saying, I don't want to use a video game word for this edition. I want to use a movie word. Let's take remastered. And yeah, that's a nitpicky Kyle Bosman thing, of course, I'm willing to admit. But it all compiles. Because honestly, I'm still irritated by these laurels. These two things right here. Because this is another thing that was basically appropriated from movies. This is a thing that movie posters did. When they won awards, they'd say, hey, let's put it between two laurels, right? And then it's like, oh, that's fancy. And video games don't do this, but The Last of Us said, if movies do it, I want to do it. Give me some laurels. Again, not a big deal. Just, it all adds up. Because earlier this week, there was a staged performance of several cutscenes from The Last of Us, starring the actors who portrayed these characters in the video game. I think it's a unique idea. I think it's an idea worth exploring. I think it's cool that they did it. However, let's be honest, there's no coincidence that this comes out, this happened the week of the release of The Last of Us Remastered. This is a celebration of The Last of Us, I guess, but it's a celebration with the intent of promotion. It's marketing, and we should see it that way. And usually when I see some marketing, I try to think of what the intent was, what this meeting was, the spawn of the idea, where they said, hey, we should do this. And I think the intent of The Last of Us One Night Live is to say, look how legitimate our story is. Look how legitimate our actors are, that they can be performed on stage. Our cutscenes can be live on stage. Isn't that incredible? And yeah, I mean, most games couldn't do that. And the truth is, The Last of Us is well written in a way that it is realistically written and carefully written, and most importantly, makes me care about the characters I'm playing in the video game. That is a hard thing to achieve. And for that reason, I couldn't care to watch it performed on stage. Those are cutscenes live. I'm glad they did it, but there's no way I'm interested in watching that. And it's another thing where it's just like, hey, we're legitimate, we're art. And it's like, hold on. Because then, also at Comic-Con, there are more details about the Last of Us movie, which will apparently be a fairly direct adaptation of the video game, still starring Joel and Ellie. That is absurd to me. That is so dumb. Neil Druckmann, the creative director and writer of the Last of Us video game, is writing the movie. That's a good decision. That's the best decision you can make to write it. However, I think it's a dumb decision to make this movie. And to be realistic, this movie probably won't get made. If you look at the ratio of video game movie announcements to the video game movie releases, it's slim. Not a lot of those movies ever really get made. I guess I'm just upset that anyone would want to make this movie in the first place. Because to me, it's like The Last of Us, hey, that is better than a movie. That is a video game. Like, be proud of it. I want The Last of Us to be happy to be a video game, basically. And it doesn't seem that way. I guess with all of these things combined, it reminds me of this one friend I had in high school. His name's Lester. And in high school, when I was a junior, the seniors, they thought they were the coolest. And to be honest, on average, seniors are cooler than juniors, right? They're a year older. That's just part of how it is. That's how the system works. Seniors are cooler than juniors. But yeah, we had this one kid in my class, Lester Fuss, and he was cool, right? He played guitar and he volunteered at the dog shelter, and he would make jokes that the teachers would laugh at. He was just a cool guy, and hanging out with Lester Fuss made all of us feel slightly cooler. But eventually, he started dressing like the seniors, and he started talking like the seniors. And one day after school, Lester said, hey, I'm going to hang out with the seniors, so you have fun at the arcade. I was like, yeah, we will have fun at the arcade. The arcade is fun. He was gone anyway. And so like the next day, Lester had to like sit there at lunch with a bunch of people who don't even like him that much. And he just had to turn over his shoulder and watch longingly as the rest of us juniors were laughing, throwing spaghetti at each other in slow motion, squirting milk into each other's noses. High school was weird. Anyway, that's the show for this week. If you're on Twitter, I am at Kyle Bosman. I'll be somewhere next week. I'm not positive which room I'll be in, but I think that's part of the fun of Final Bosman on the road. I hope to see you then. Thanks for watching.
I couldn't find my gun.
This guy's trying to kill me. Can you please help me out? Jesus.
Wait, do we just...
God
God.
in heaven.
So I have just come back from my vacation, and I wanted to share a story. It's kind of related. At my friend's wedding, it's a high school buddy, they did a cool thing where the bride and the groom gave each other gifts before the actual ceremony. And I thought that was pretty cool because they were like thoughtful gifts, very expensive too. It was like expensive, thoughtful, and it's just like, oh, cool. But anyway, before that, when he was explaining to us like, hey, I'm trying this thing out where I give her a gift. He was explaining that he's like, I think that she's getting me a PlayStation 3. And one of the other guys, wasn't me, said, don't you want a PlayStation 4? And he goes, yeah, but I really want to play The Last of Us, and that's not on PlayStation 4. And I'm super proud of myself because in that moment, I said nothing. I just let him believe that. And I think like that's like, for me, a sign of maturity. I feel like I am a man, a respectful man, because I did not say, you idiot, that's on PlayStation 4 in 2 weeks. I don't think he watches the show, so like please like, don't tell him. Don't tell him I said this. Just like let him live in that world, because he did get a PlayStation 3 and he's like really happy about it. And so it's like, yeah, dude, just. Because, like, honestly, what does it matter? You know what I mean? He's not playing a different game than the rest of us are on PlayStation 4. It's all the same game, right? So, who cares, like, what frame rate it is? It's still the same game. Still got those same cutscenes, Story is the same. Like, the way you upgrade is, like, it's the same, whether you're playing on PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4. So, congratulations, man. It was a nice wedding. Don't do the whole thing.
We have to. It got so weird. Yeah. It's sad. Are you like in love with the bride? Right. What's going on?